The Kumite tape that you're now witnessing, as you go through and see the techniques, I think this will enhance your knowledge and open a lot of new avenues for you. We have enough techniques on this tape so that you can try them all. They're very simple. They're very easy. Nothing complicated about Kumite. It's the delivery to your opponent is what complicates the Kumite techniques. Now, Mr. Jack Bedford, a well-trained Kumite competitor, is on these tapes with me. And what we're trying to do is to give you enough well-rounded knowledge so that you can take each technique, train in the dojo, or train at home. And I think you'll see that your proficiency level will greatly improve. We're doing these from a set and position. We're not trying to do it as a simulated match. I want you to be able to take each technique one by one, just as we demonstrated to you, and be able to work on it in that manner. Then you have to incorporate the knowledge and this technique into your style of Kumite and fighting. And I think that you'll find after you've worked on these techniques sufficiently, and there'll be some of them that you've never seen before. These techniques come from two different sources. It comes from my instructor, the Grandmaster Tatsuo Shimabuku on Okinawa, and my ideas on how to take some more techniques out of the katas and the chart and put them together and arrive at this set of Kumite techniques. And I don't think that you could ever find a more rounded education than what you'll get from this Kumite film.
Kumite, or sparring techniques, are practiced primarily for tournament competition. Some of the benefits realized through Kumite practice are improved reflexes and timing, distance control, breathing control, and stamina. Protective equipment should always be worn when practicing Kumite. IIKA and AOKA sanctioned tournaments mandate each competitor wear the following: soft-covered hand and foot protectors, headgear, mouthpiece, and for male competitors, a groin cup. Shin, forearm, and chest protectors are highly recommended, but not required. Legal target areas in Kumite are the head and face, side of the neck, ribs, chest, abdomen, collarbone, kidneys, and groin. However, only groin attacks from the front are allowed. Illegal target areas include the spine, back of the neck, throat, hip, elbow, knee, buttocks, the entire leg, and feet, except legal foot sweeps. It is advised to read the rules and regulations for each tournament you're going to enter, and note any variances in these rules. When practicing or competing, one should always exercise good sportsmanship and control. Remember, the object of Kumite is to score points, not to injure one's opponent. Excessive contact should be avoided at all times.
First technique, all I want to do is get my hand over my opponent's forward hand and arm. I key in on his head. I move my body posture slightly as I get the back fist right into my opponent's facial area. This is one of the easier techniques. Once I get my hand across my opponent's arm, there's no problem getting to the target. He has nothing to block it with. And to give you a little bit faster version of this technique, the reverse punch is simply the hand tilt to the rear. I've got a little bit more distance to cover, but I've got my opponent slightly off balance. I'm going to move his upper torso slightly so he cannot retaliate with a following hand, come right across to the reverse punch into the head area, and the same technique would apply to the ribs. And a little bit quicker version of this technique is this technique, I want to hit my opponent's arm, get it down out of the way. This assures success. His hand and reflexes are not quick enough to enable him to block with his rearward hand. Hit the hand, clear the area, and go straight to the target. You do not draw back. From the position that you're in, when you hit your opponent's arm, that's where you go. This faster version will give you a little bit idea of what it is. This technique, we're getting our opponent's arm. That's the only thing between his body and my technique is to get the hand down out of the way and swing a ridge hand around and hit on the side of the head. Arm down, and swing all the way around. It's a good technique. It's a fast technique. It's a very effective technique. Knock the arm down out of the way. The heel of the hand goes into the groin area. You're opening your opponent up. You're getting his hands, his defense completely out of the way, and you make your move from there. Now, a little bit faster version of this technique is when you hit the hand, I'm also going to move my opponent away so he cannot retaliate with a reverse punch in this manner. Step forward and move my body completely across the front, hitting my opponent's arm, moving my target area, square in, so when I move my foot, move the swinging back kick, that he automatically steps into the target. Step, hit my opponent, swinging back kick. And a little bit faster version of this technique. Step. This technique, I still want to get my opponent's hand down out of the way. It's going to be a heel of the hand going into the groin and immediately swing it up with a ridge hand into the head. This is a kind of a two-prong attack, and you'll probably score both points, but we can't rely on that. We have to go both ways to make sure that we get it all in. A faster version of the same thing. This technique, you give the appearance of doing a foot technique. You get halfway around your opponent, you stop, and you come back into with a quick back fist to the head. A little bit faster version of this technique. Step around, knock the hand out of the way, come right immediately to the head area. make a move with my body, get something for my opponent to see, get it up in his face as much as I possibly can, then I kick underneath just as soon as I get his attention and make him react to what I'm doing high. And the same thing be here. I come around, chop in high, come into the roundhouse kick to the groin area. And a quicker version of the same thing is chop, kick. And he never really realizes what's occurring, but there's one half-beat difference between the fake technique and the regular technique. First technique, I give an indication of going in on the thigh area or up above. Just as soon as I get my opponent's attention, I withdraw it and immediately come back with a roundhouse kick into the midsection or groin area. This technique, another distraction move, I want to hit my opponent's hand, just get his mind on something else. The kick is going to take just a very, very short distance and a little hook to get right into the groin area in this manner. Very little body effort. Showing it to you in a little bit faster version. This technique is another quick technique. You have to get on in a hurry, a step, and throw the kick into the groin. And I also want to move the opponent's hand out of the way, kick into the groin, and get the backhand chop into the side of the neck. And a little bit faster version of this technique is I make my move around, to kick into the groin and come right in the short, choppy move into the neck area. This technique is similar to the one you just saw, except it's a little bit quicker and we're a little bit more compact on the moves. We're also capturing the hand and getting it down. Now this is the same thing, a little bit of a quicker move. All I'm going to do is pivot my body, pivot on the forward foot, bring my rearward foot up at the same time, get high as before again, lean away, and the kick goes right into my opponent's midsection, ribs, or chest area. A little bit quicker version. All I'm going to do is just move. I don't even have to do anything to them. I'll get the hand high just to distract them and come right into the chest. This is two back kicks. first one comes up, when we set it down, whether we score or not, we know our opponent is going to initiate an attack from there, then the second kick goes right into the midsection and rib area. A little bit faster version of this technique. This technique is just a step across, step in behind my forward foot. I lean my body down and away and get the heel hook kick right into my opponent's groin. Same thing for the opposite side. Take one move in, lean down and away, the hook kick goes into my opponent's groin. This technique is virtually impossible to block. If he lets me get this forward, then he's hit. This technique, again, I'm going to step with the rearward foot in behind my forward foot. I'm going to bring the knee up across the front and just shoot a side kick up under my opponent's arm in the rib area. And a little bit faster version. This kick looks similar to the first. I'm going to move in, I'm going to move it wide. Let my opponent look at it. And really, there's not too much he can do about it. About the time he relaxes, then I'm going to come into the second hook kick to the kidney area in the back. Same thing. I'm going to give him all of this hook kick to see. Then I come right back to the second one. I'm going to step across exactly the same manner I did in the prior technique. I'm going to step slightly behind my opponent and come right in with the back fist when I'm halfway through the technique. This is a timing technique. You step, back fist goes, and get back out of the way because you haven't done any damage, although you did score a point. Now the same technique in a quicker version is I step back and away, come in with the back fist into my opponent's hand, and that concludes that technique. We'll reach out and grab my opponent, replace a foot with a foot. The forward foot is going to come up and go underneath the rib area and come right back. By grabbing my opponent, I control his movements, and there's really not anything he can do about it. A little bit faster version. All I move is reach in and grab, foot replace a foot, come in, turn my opponent loose, and let him drop onto the floor. This technique, I step forward. Again, I grab my opponent. I get in the first kick is into the rib area. Set it back down to the floor. I don't turn them loose. And I come right back into the groin area with the same foot. Just reach, grab my opponent, side kick in the rib, and a roundhouse kick into the groin. A little bit faster version of the same thing. Just reach in. This technique, again, I'm going to capture my opponent's arm, I move the foot up, go into the rib, and immediately go right back into the chest or midsection area. The foot never sits down. We don't have that much time. We move around, capture the arm, ribs first, and come right into the midsection with the second kick. And a little bit faster version of the same technique is when I move around, this technique is real easy. I'm going to grab the arm. That's when my opponent should be moving back. As he moves his head back to get back out of the way and initiate his attack, it's going to be a back fist going right across. From here, I move the foot up. It's a roundhouse kick coming in underneath. The only thing I'm doing is keeping them occupied with the first technique. So I want to come in, grab, back fist, around with a roundhouse kick. A little bit quicker version of this technique is when I move in, just grab, this technique is just a quick, solid technique. I'm going to have a short roundhouse kick going to the groin. I'll set it down. That's when my opponent starts to make his move. I'll bring my defensive positions up and come right back with the same kick. Another version of this kick is when I make my move in. I just give my opponent something to look at, a short kick, and come right back into the chest area with it. A little bit larger version of this kick and a little bit quicker version of this kick is when I make the move around, I hit my opponent, take down, and come right back. I hit the hand, start my opponent's upper torso, one direction. I take the foot sweep, hit underneath, bring him back. I capture him to make sure he does not get away from me, and the back fist goes into the back of the head. The same technique. I'm going to move around, start my opponent's upper torso, come right around, sweep him, get right into the side of the head or the back of the head with this technique. Now the quicker version and the faster version is when I just start my opponent's hand, hit him, back. I'm going to start a cross step to the rear. I'm going to come right back, and blocking my opponent's arms out, the upper torso, come right back. I'm going to pull his forward foot out of the way and come right back with a back fist into the side of the head. So start my cross step, step back, pull my opponent into me, and the back fist goes in. Now this technique works the same no matter which way you're turned. But for simplicity's sake, we'll show you a little bit faster version going the same way that we did originally. I'm going to step across, come back, pull them out, to the back fist. This is a very, very quick technique. You're going to hit the hand down, throw the roundhouse kick into the groin area, and throw a backhand chop into the head. As we turn our technique around, I'll show you to it a different way. It's all the same thing. I make my opponent commit himself on the kick. When he commits himself, I can control the upper torso, come back and get the backhand chop into the side or back to the head. This technique, in a little bit quicker version, would look similar to this. This technique, as my opponent moves in, I move the foot out, knee high, come across the front, and shove it right back into my opponent's midsection and rib area. This is a defensive technique, but it scores a lot of points. And so a little bit faster version. This kick, I'm going to give my opponent one kick to look at. I'm going to bring it back and hit him with a second kick. Start the first kick and come right in behind with the second kick. Start it, stop it, and come right back with the second kick. This kick is to catch your opponent unaware. People are not accustomed to blocking three things in succession, such as the roundhouse kick, the back kick, come right around, and the third kick would be the one that you would ordinarily score with. Okay, so changing to the other side, exactly the same way. Roundhouse kick, back kick, roundhouse. To give a little bit quicker version of the same combination of kicks, this technique is designed to get an aggressive person, or a person that gets their weight on the forward foot, will come with a foot sweep, move it out slightly, come around with a roundhouse kick into the chest area. Foot sweep, roundhouse. And give you a little bit faster version of the same kick. grab my opponent's arm, I control him, I move him slightly in, reverse punches going into the head. I still control my opponent, but make sure I can get out safely and not rely on just one technique. I get the other one into the rib area. Once I grab my opponent, just a slight tug. I use my opponent's unbalanced. That's the same as a weight. And it allows me to come right in with both techniques without moving my body position. And to give the same thing in a little bit faster version, if the river put up a back kick, move the upper torso around, throw a back fist, upper torso, swing back and throw the second back fist. This technique can be used in a combination of ways. Throw the back kick, set it down, swivel the upper torso, get your first technique into your opponent's head, swivel the upper body, and get it to the second time. This will be just a little bit faster version of what we just did. If my opponent throws a roundhouse kick at my groin area, I'm going to just pivot out of the way as he throws his kick. I'll be back fist ready to hit my opponent into the head with. We change sides and do exactly the same thing again. As he comes with a roundhouse kick, I'll pivot my body out of the way and get with the back fist. And this will be a little bit quicker version of the same thing. My opponent is going to throw a back fist, a quick technique, into my head. As he does so, at his first movement, I'm going to block the arm, making my opponent's arm go wide of the mark. I got the arm, my fist in a perfect position to come with my own back fist. Same technique. They'll deliver this about 15 different ways. But if you let your opponent throw the back fist, in fact, give them an area to hit with and encourage them to, then you don't have to defend against anything else. Same technique in a quicker version. My opponent moves in, throwing a side thrust kick. I knock it down before it gets to the target, and a back fist to the back of the head. Knock the kick down, back fist. A little bit quicker version of the same technique. This technique, my opponent is going to come with a high roundhouse to the head. As he comes with this technique, I'm going to use a double forearm block. Once I make my block, set the kick down, I'm going to throw a quick back fist to the head after I throw the roundhouse kick into the groin area. Now, this kick is very, very powerful kick he's throwing to the head, and a quick kick. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to throw these techniques in the manner that I am. And to give you a little bit quicker version of the technique. This technique, my opponent's going to step across and come in with a thrust kick. As he does so, I'm going to make the block. Right out of the way, come with a reverse punch to the head and a reverse punch to the midsection or the rib area. Make the block, stay down, punch to the head, punch to the rib area. And a little bit quicker version of this technique. This technique is a back kick thrown in my midsection by my opponent. Just as soon as his movement gets my attention, as soon as he makes his body turn, then that's when I'm going to react to it. I'm not going to stand here and block it. I'm going to retaliate with another kick and a punch. A little bit faster version of that technique is just as soon as he comes around with his kick, get out of the way after I throw my kick to give myself plenty of room to throw the punch. This technique, as my opponent comes with his rear foot into a foot sweep, once he makes his move in, I know the fact that it is a foot sweep, I'm going to move my foot up out of the way. Hook kick going into the groin. That eliminates any need for a follow-up technique. A faster version of this technique